Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Naima Singletary, and we're going to be talking about how she said a big yes to intuition and how she was able to tell it was not fear talking to her. So we'll look at how you can say yes to your intuition when it's making a very big ask of you. And also we'll look at how she tells the difference between her intuition and fear. And just in case you don't know Naima, she is a wealth and freedom mentor who helps people get to six figures and above. And she is organizing a mega event called More Than Enough Money in London real soon for mission-driven entrepreneurs. So welcome, Naima.
Thank you so much for having me, Michael. Hello, everyone.
Yay. So, yeah, what do you, I mean, you know, sometimes we hear small requests from our intuition or small suggestions, but like sometimes it's like a really big one. So how do you deal with that when your intuition is telling you to do something and maybe your egos are like, oh, I don't know if we can do that.
Yes. See, this is relevant because, you know, the topic of intuition is something that has been with me and a lot of people, and it's easy. Well, my experience has been that it's pretty easy to follow intuition when it's asking you to do something that's just a little bit abnormal for you, a little bit out of your comfort zone. But for people in my world who are looking to live a bigger, more interesting life, you know, international speaking, helping more people, working at a global level, you know, scaling their companies, being more deeply embodied and living that on the outside. These people are making big requests. Like they want big things, you know, they want beautiful office spaces and they want to be able to, you know, work in this country for 3 months and work in that country for 3 months. And, you know, they want to help 5 million people and, you know, they want to be, you know, sexually empowered and they want to, you know, just do these big things, have retreat centers in different tropical places, etc. So when you're living at this level, you're going to get intuitive hits to do things to match the frequency of the bigness of the thing that you want to do. So in my case, it was like I'm spearheading the opening of a chateau that's supposed to be in France. It might be in the UK. It might be in France. Intuition was telling me, go to France, go to France, go to France, go to France. And at the time, that felt like a huge ask because I had just come from living in Italy for over a year. And I was in California. And it was just like, what? You know, it felt, you know, it just felt indulgent. It felt like, are you sure? It just felt, the mind was doing that. But my intuition was clear. Go to Italy. I mean, go to France, move to France, specifically Paris, go. And so that, because it felt like such a big ask of me, is what had me freaking about it because I had never felt asked of by spirit, intuition, my higher self at that level. Energetically, I had never felt that before.
And how did that feel for you?
It felt, I'm telling you, I rumbled and tumbled with that thing for like 2 weeks. I'm telling you, I was just like, are you sure? And I'm, you know, it's like I was looking for something to confirm the intuitive hit that I had already gotten. It was just like, and I would go for walks and I would go for drives and I was just like, ugh. And then finally I had, what made me like make the decision. And I just, this is so beautiful. I want everyone to get this. I had read about this other coach who, wanted to stay somewhere for an extended period of time. And she gave herself permission to do that. And something about that spoke to me. So I made the decision, Naima, you already know, stop the drama, right? It was like, stop the drama, go. So I made the decision. And this is the really awesome part about responding to the big yeses. I made the decision that I was moving to Paris. Within a week, maybe even sooner, but no more than a week later, I got a six-figure client within a week of making that decision. Now, I'm already multiple 5 figures per month like that, right? So the money part, like just, so it's not like, oh my God, I've never made this much money before. It's the fact that it came so quickly, so unexpectedly on a level. And I could feel how much it was resonant with this big yes that I had just said yes to. I could feel the alignment of it all. And I'm certain that that would not happened. That would not have happened had I not said yes to that big intuitive hit to go to Paris. So this is what's possible for us when we have the audacity to listen, not just to the little intuitive hits, you know, which are important, no doubt, but to the big things that call so much more from within us.
That sounds amazing. So have you moved to Paris already? Or
I moved. That was December. So I moved to Paris December of last year. I was there for 7 months. Now I'm in London because my next intuitive hit said, go to London. That's why I'm like, is the chateau going to be in the UK or is it going to be in France? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm in the UK now.
Great. So when you were in Paris, did you subsequently find reasons that you'd been guided to go there in retrospect, or?
Some things that happened that made sense. So one of the things that I know is going to be expected of me and is expected of everybody watching this who's going to be leading things and is going to be responsible for making big decisions, choosing team members, etc., and following intuition and listening to, you know, when you just get feelings about. So I met this guy on New Year's Day, as a matter of fact, because I moved to Paris on, I think like December 14th or something like that, around there, December 14th. And actually, no, first I went to Italy for a week. Went to Italy for a week, then went from Italy to Paris December 22nd, because I remember I wanted to be in Paris for Christmas. So December 22nd, I officially moved to Paris. And on New Year's Day, I met this guy, and there was like all the ding, 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 like all the bells was going off, right? And that, so much about that relationship as far as who's going to be on the team, who I can trust, how to pay attention to subtle things. Like I could see so much about that relationship that helped to strengthen my leadership and who I choose to be in my world, romantically, business-wise. And I've had other relationships with other men too that taught me other things. This one taught me at a whole new level of maturity. So I could see how that relationship with that guy in Paris, the way it all happens, the synchronicity of it all, what happened in the relationship with him being a Frenchman, etc., that, you know, felt very aligned with the decision to say yes. And then also me being, I imagine that there are people watching right now who are breaking the normalcy in their family pattern, meaning maybe they're the first one in their family to break a financial normalcy for the family bloodline. You know, like that's me. I have broken a lot of what's normal financially in my bloodline as far back as I know, right? And so my sister came and spent 3 weeks in Paris, and had I not been living there, that would not have happened. And so that experience helped to feed this understanding and feed my position as a leader, if you will. Something about that word just kind of like, because I see myself as something a bit further than a leader. But the yes set me up to be in Paris for my sister to come and be a part of the future of the family and the future of what's possible in our bloodline. And I'm sure if I were to dig into some more, you know, so for people watching this who are saying yes to big things, this is an example of how it's so much bigger than us individually. You know, it's affecting literally our lineage. And for those of us who have children or plan to give birth to children, we're literally rewiring things and priming our children or soon to be children for something greater versus maintaining whatever is the status quo for your particular bloodline. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me. Let's talk about that a bit more for people listening who may be curious about.
Sure.
So you're talking about a family pattern
Yes.
around money where
Yes.
members of your family had limiting beliefs about how much money they could make or what they were allowed to do in life,
Mm-hmm.
things like
Or,
that, which I'm
or
sure a lot of people could identify with. Maybe they're
yeah.
the first one in their family who's an entrepreneur or taking a leadership role in a business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or whatever is normal for that family, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Like if you come from a family of farmers, right? But, and there's nothing wrong with farming, don't get me wrong, right? But let's say you just don't see that for your future. What if you see yourself having a retreat center in Costa Rica, or you see yourself having something else, and you're creating a total shift from the last 3 generations that you're aware of in your bloodline? You got to say yes to that, because there's obviously something there that wants to be created, and you are the person to have it move through you and to birth it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So this is another reason why saying yes to those big intuitive hits are so important and are so much bigger than us.
That is a great inspiration there. Did you consciously do work on clearing bloodline patterns to help you grow this fast, or?
Baby, I'm telling, like, I'm literally in a co-working space where I was speaking to a group of women about the long game of money and the level of work and transformation and commitment to the long game that's required, because you are rewiring things that are so normal because it's been normal in your family.
Mm-hmm.
You're born into it. You cannot help that you're born into whatever situation you're born into. So then, right, you get all the stuff that comes to you through blood, and then you get all the stuff that comes to you by simply being raised in that family, whichever family you were raised in. So then when you become of age to make your own decisions, your own money, etc., and what has been normal for your existing family, right, your immediate family, their parents, and you look and you're like, that is not me, right? It requires a real commitment to breaking that, because for some people, it feels like a level of betrayal, a level of abandoning the family unit, the family normalcy, And so it really takes, one, a commitment to your own growth, a commitment to your own freedom, to even commit to a path of that nature. And then when you do, these big yeses start showing up at your door. So the answer is yes. This is something that I committed to some years ago. And, we need community for this, Michael, because it's tough when you are, I still get into little fights with my mom about new realities I'm creating for myself,
Oh, can you share any of those with us?
Totally. So I'm happy to share it all. So when I first made this decision to really this bigger decision, like I'm going to be who I am. I don't care who says anything, particularly my mother, because that's what I was most worried about. And I started writing on a blog in a very unfiltered way. And my mother went crazy. I was writing about blowjobs and getting fucked on my floor and boyfriends and self-hate and sexual trauma and abuse, like unfiltered, Michael, totally unfiltered. Yeah. And so my mother went crazy. She found it. And that was my biggest fear, that my mother was going to find it. So she found it and she just went batshit crazy.
Oh.
And this was in 2014. Okay. So we're talking 3 years ago. So I'm like, okay, she knows who I am, and we've had little, disagreements and getting off the phone, I'll talk to you later kind of things, And so I'm thinking, all right, yeah, good. She knows who I am. I'm constantly, whenever we're talking about things, etc., it's kind of like reaffirming to her, this is what it is. This is who I am. And so recently I wrote a blog post that was very graphic, very sexual. She found it and she went crazy again. It's like, Mom, what is going on? Nothing is new here. Okay. I showed this part of myself to you years ago and she's, why do you have to, right. So most people don't want to endure that with their parents,
Yes.
And so one thing that helps a person to stay committed to their own freedom is to be in community with other people who have made the commitment to their freedom. You know, and that's why I say we got to have community, because man, when those bloodlines and fear of not being loved, fear of being rejected from the family, fear of not belonging kicks in, that's enough to kick most of us back into conformity.
Yeah, well, that's why it exists, right? Keep everyone in line.
Yeah, and hence the depression and the suicide and I'm just not willing to play that game.
Right. Well, good for you. And maybe what I would call that is the community we have around us that supports us in our goals is our family of choice.
Yes.
And
very true.
You know, and we can choose how much time we spend with family of blood and how much with family of choice.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Like my sister and I were already talking about this coming Christmas and like what we're going to do and everything. And we're like, okay, so we can have one dinner with mommy, just one, you know?
There you go.
You just know, when you just get honest about who you can be around and how long, like you said. Right. Boom. You can make plans like that. So it's a real thing.
You know, our mothers can be wonderful spiritual people who've incarnated in a body, and we've given them the label mother.
Yeah.
And they're still spiritual beings having their own little journey, you know, like we are. So, but that doesn't mean I have to choose to spend a whole bunch of time with them.
Exactly. Or tolerate.
Or any time, depending on exactly what the relationship is.
It's true. Or tolerate their, you know, words, you know, any words that are abusive or hurtful. Like, we don't have to, I don't have to tolerate that just because you're my mother, you know?
Right. Absolutely. Well, big growing point there. So let's just move on. You know, maybe people listening have heard things from their intuition. Maybe they've heard big things from their intuition, but they're not sure how to tell the difference between that and their own fear. So tell us a bit about that, because I'm sure folks would love to know how you dealt with that.
For me, as simply as this, and I don't think this is anything new because I've heard other people say this, so I'm reiterating what's, in my experience, universally true. And that is, fear feels like tension and tightness and constriction. Intuition, if you can relax enough, okay, and feels right. You just know. And in my experience, that's how I've been able to decipher between fear and intuition. Like even the Paris example, when it came to me, I knew there was no tension. The head went into this whole thing, but underneath it all, I just knew. It just feels like, yes, precisely, exactly. I know that I know that I know. That's how intuition feels. Fear feels like, should I don't know. It feels tight in the body when you think about it. It feels tight in the chest. There, even if you can't quite put your finger on it, something about it says no. You know, like that's the difference between intuition and fear.
Yeah, and I think also the intuition is often a quiet voice. You know, it's not jumping up and down, trying to get attention, whereas the fear often is a loud, shrill kind of, you know, the sound of a toddler having a tantrum kind of voice.
Thank you. That's a very good point too. It's so calm. It's a whisper.
Yeah, and it's not attached to whether you pay attention. You know, you want to take this advice, great. You don't, you know, it'll something else will come around again in the future.
It'll leave you and go on to the next one.
Yeah. Whereas the fear doesn't have that attitude. It's like, you've got to pay attention. You've got to follow me and listen now. You will be missing out.
I like that. I've never heard that before, Michael. I like that.
Well, I'm inspired. I'm probably channeling this from somewhere or another.
Very good.
And I certainly felt, you know, I had a big intuition a few years back. My intuition said, go to the Andes. And I'm like, well, my ego was like, I don't know anyone there. I don't know what I'd do there. Is it even safe there? You know?
Yeah.
And I eventually I told a lot of friends that had this intuition, and I found a friend in Bolivia, and she helped me find an apartment there. But when I was getting on the plane to fly to La Paz in Bolivia, I'm like, oh, why am I doing this? You know, is this all a trick to and do something. It was like, it was all the fearful thoughts. But as soon as I arrived, it was just felt so good.
Yes.
I knew I'd made a good choice.
See, and that's the thing. Like the mind, like even as you're telling that story, I can hear where the mind was doing its thing, and that in the intuition, it's like it's a stream that is unmoved, and it just, and it carries you. Like you had your friend help you find the apartment, and there's like that, and then the mind and fear is doing all this other thing on top, trying to seduce you with immediacy and urgent, false urgency and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And the fear of missing out, right? That's one of the fear's little tricks, right? FOMO.
And it works. That's why people use it so much in their marketing. I mean, oftentimes it works with a certain group of people. It works. But when I imagine people who are listening to this, who are really about intuition, it doesn't work with them. Yeah.
Well, we've been trained by listening to those hundreds of thousands of marketing messages to listen to that fearful voice. Right? Anyone here who gets advertising or watches TV or reads newspapers, any of those ways that those fear-filled voices come in, we're trained to listen to that fearful voice.
Yeah.
And we get less training in modern society to listen to the quiet inner knowing.
Yeah, and that's a whole other conversation too, because I think in my world, and I imagine in your world, it's like that world and this world, like, there's a separation, and it's like, so that's not really, it's like, I see it, it's nothing, it means nothing to me now. I see it and it's like, doesn't work here, sorry.
Well, that's because you're an advanced being,
Yeah. Yes.
A lot of us are still working to get to that level of advancement. So how do you manage to ignore all those fear-filled voices? That's a good...
How did I get here? Making a lot of mistakes. I think I'm trying to think of a good example to share when I listened to the fear and it didn't work out.
Well, I'm thinking more of like how to not listen to all the media and news. And I mean, it's hard these days to not see the news. It's everywhere. You go in an elevator, they even have like little TV news in the elevator, just in case you get like 30 seconds without TV. Oh my God.
Or in California, they have gas stations with the news too.
No way, really? A little pump. There's like just
while
in case you get a few.
While you're pumping your gas, the TV is right there. That is so funny, Michael. You're right. It
used to be you went to get your nails done and you could have peace and quiet and tranquility. Now they put a TV in there. So.
Jesus. So how do I not watch it? First of all, it brings me pain to watch the news, so it's easy to not watch it. Okay? And I stopped watching the news years ago because it was, I got introduced to the personal development space in my early 20s, and they challenged us to do no TV and to turn our cars into, they call them mobile universities, I think, or something.
Oh, yeah.
And so back then is when I started to cut out TV, and I don't watch TV. I don't even own a TV now. Yeah, so it's easy for me to not watch TV. Yeah. And then as far as the news and stuff, Facebook feeds me that. So if there's something I really need to know, enough people will talk about it. Like when Hurricane Harvey was coming or happened, boom, there it is on Facebook. Irma, boom, Facebook. North Korea, something with Trump, right? Boom, it's all there.
Yeah, we find out about things if we need to.
Yeah, so it's easy to not watch it for me.
And I love that mobile university. I mean, and that's audio courses or podcasts.
Exactly, stuff that nourishes.
So cool. So I know you've got something else you're going to soon. So
I have 5 minutes.
Yes.
I have 5
minutes. Let's tell people how they can find you online if they want to find out more about what you do, helping people with money and surrendering to the deep sexual enjoyment.
Yeah.
Which are deeply related. Maybe we'll talk about that briefly after you told people where to find you.
I would love, talk about love. I would love that. So the event that's happening in London, which is September 28th, they can find out more about that. And if they're not in London and don't plan to come to the event, they can go to this same page and give us their name and email so they can be notified of events. They can get videos and blogs and other content around building a thriving business, being the truth of who you are. So the website for them to go to is morethanenoughmoneytour.com. Again, morethanenoughmoneytour.com, and they can read about this event, send us their email, or come hang out on Facebook under Naima Singletary.
All right. Well, we'll put those links into the show notes, which you can find on intuitiveleadershipmastery.com. And just in the last few minutes we have, tell us about the connection between money and sex, because not everyone gets that.
Oh,
why does opening yourself up sexually help you open yourself to receiving money?
Oh, that's a great way to put it, Michael. So simply put, and I want everyone to know listening to my voice right now, that this is the most basic explanation, and that this goes much beyond, especially on an experiential level, than what it is that I'm about to say. So just know that, okay? But just to speak a touch on it, for many people, there's a lot of discomfort and tension as it relates to creating large amounts of money. And for many people, any money in their coaching business or service-based business. And what happens in the sexuality realm and learning how to receive, particularly as a woman, and learning how to be present and pay attention if you're a man, because that's where the magic happens. For a woman, it's her ability to receive and to express her desire. For a man, it's his ability to pay attention and to hold a woman. Obviously, we're talking about in a heterosexual relationship. And so when she is able to do this, there's a softening that occurs. When he is able to do this, there's a level of power that has nothing to do with the stoic level of power that most men are trained to be. And when this happens from a female perspective for a woman, it transfers in the realm of business, of being able to be this woman who both receives and asks, which is necessary in business. Receiving money and asking for whatever it is that you're asking for, help, new clients, right? Anything, boundaries, right? It all plays out in business. And what happens in the sexuality realm is because it's such a potent channel. It's just, to me, the bedrock of becoming a really well-felt and deeply embodied, powerful entrepreneur that's operating from a deeper place versus this head spreadsheet planning, strategic doing kind of way. So that's the beginning of the beginning.
Yes, I'd love to hear more about that another time. But thanks so much for joining us today and talking about your intuition and how you differentiate it from fear, and also how the importance of open sexuality in being abundant.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michael. My heart is, it's, I feel it contorting. It feels a little pain, as if like space is being made. So thank you for being a part of that.